The stars outside the window of the HSS Endeavour stretched like white streaks across the black canvas of space. Commander Aiden Cross stood on the bridge, staring out with quiet wonder. Humanity had come far just 50 years ago. They were barely touching Mars. Now, they were entering the orbit of Volanthus, a newly discovered planet with intelligent alien life. "Commander," said Ensign Riva from the CUM station. "We're receiving a transmission." "It's from the Volanthi Royal Fleet." Aiden nodded. "Put it through." A soft hum filled the air, followed by a voice smooth, melodic, and unfamiliar. "Human vessel, this is the Royal Guard of Volanthus. You are now under our escort. Do not deviate from the flight path." Aiden gave a calm reply. "This is Commander Aiden Cross of the human spaceship Endeavour. We come in peace and with open hands." As the message ended, 3 sleek alien ships appeared, gliding beside them like shadows in water. Unlike Earth ships, the Volanthi vessels were curved, almost organic-looking, as if grown rather than built. "Guess it's real now," Aiden muttered to himself. Welcome to Volanthus landing site was a floating city suspended over a violet ocean. Towers made of crystal and silver spiraled into the sky. Volanthus was breathtaking, an alien in every way. The crew stepped out into a glowing courtyard where dozens of Volanthi nobles stood waiting. They were tall, graceful beings with silver skin and shimmering clothes. A few had glowing eyes, others wore masks that hid their faces. Aiden walked forward, flanked by diplomats and security officers. He kept his posture calm, but his mind raced. One wrong word could destroy everything. Then she stepped forward. Princess Sorelia. She was unlike the others. Her eyes were a soft amethyst, her face unmasked. Her silver-white hair flowed down like silk, and her presence felt calm yet powerful. "Welcome, Commander Cross," she said, her voice carrying a gentle strength. "On behalf of Volanthus, I receive you," Aiden bowed politely. "Thank you, Princess. It's an honor to meet you." Their eyes met only for a second, but something strange passed between them. Curiosity? Recognition? He couldn't tell. Banquet of Unity. Later that evening, the Volanthi hosted a grand banquet. The ceiling of the hall showed a moving sky stars and moons drifting slowly overhead. Tables of glowing fruit, crystal cups, and steam-floating plates surrounded them. Aiden sat between Earth's Ambassador Hartnell and an older Volanthi, noble with glowing tattoos. Across the room, Princess Sorelia sat in silence, watching the humans with interest. She seemed different from the other nobles, who whispered and sneered behind their hands. Aiden's eyes met hers again. This time she smiled. Just a small one. Suddenly one of the nobles stood up. "This gathering is. It's unusual," he said in a cold voice. "These humans bring chaos, emotion, war. Why should we speak to a species still fighting among itself?" The room grew tense. Aiden stood slowly. "You're not wrong," he said. "Our history is filled with mistakes, but we learn, grow. We reach out to understand, not conquer." The noble scoffed, but Princess Sorelia spoke next. "Let us not judge a book by its scars," she said. "Some stories are beautiful because of their pain." The room fell silent. Aiden looked at her with surprise. She had just defended humans, that night. As the guests began to leave, Sorelia approached Aiden privately. "You speak with courage," she said. "And you with kindness," he replied. "It's rare on both sides." She tilted her head. "Tell me something. Do your people really write stories about love between stars?" Aiden smiled. "We do. Want to hear one?" Stories Beneath the Moon. Sorelia led him to a quiet balcony. Above them, 2 pale moons lit the sky. Below, the glowing sea shimmered like liquid glass. Aiden told her the story of Orion and Lyra, a human myth about 2 lovers from rival stars who refused to be separated. Sorelia listened in silence, her eyes wide, softening with every word. "You speak of love like it's a force of nature," she whispered. "To humans it is," Aiden said. "We fight for it. We break rules for it. Sometimes, ... We even start wars for it. Valanthi do not feel love as humans do, she said. Not anymore. Our emotions are ... controlled. We are bred for logic, not chaos. Aiden looked at her. Do you believe that? She paused, then looked away. I don't know. Stood there. Two strangers from different worlds, drawn together by something unspoken. As he turned to leave, he whispered to himself, barely audible, I wish I could marry her. Spark ignites. What Aiden didn't know was she heard him. Cerelia's eyes widened. Her heart, if that was what she could call, it fluttered. She had never felt this before. Not in her dreams. Not in the presence of her betrothed, the powerful General Threxen. But this human, this foolish, bold human, had spoken with a heart that matched her own. Back on the Endeavor, Aiden lay in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. He knew it was wrong. Dangerous. Maybe even foolish. But he couldn't forget the way she looked at him or how she quoted Earth poetry at the banquet. He closed his eyes, remembering her words. Some stories are beautiful because of their pain. Danger ahead elsewhere, in the shadows of Valanthes. Royal Chambers. General Threxen watched a hologram of Aiden and Cerelia on the balcony. His fists clenched. The human dares to speak to her. Does he not know his place? Behind him a hooded noble whispered, She grows fond of him, General. It will ruin everything. Threxen's eyes glowed with fury. Then we must remind them. Love has no place in the stars. Only power does. The next morning, Commander Aiden Cross stood at the observation deck of the HSS Endeavor, staring out at the glowing city of Valanthus. It was beautiful, but heavy with secrets. He couldn't stop thinking about Princess Cerelia, her voice, her eyes, her questions about human love, most of all how she heard him whisper those forbidden words. I wish I could marry her. He didn't regret saying it, but he knew what it meant. Danger, a royal decree, sighed the Valanthi High Chamber. Tension filled the air. Cerelia stood beside her mother, High Matron Calexia. As the council discussed a new law, a senior noble, wearing a golden robe, read the words aloud. Let it be known, from this day forward, no human may enter into a royal union with a member of the Valanthi noble bloodlines. Such actions are considered dishonor and threat to the realm. She already knew why this law was written. It wasn't about peace. It was about her. She looked across the chamber. General Threxen stood silently, arms crossed, his cold eyes watching her. He knew everything. Somehow, after the meeting, he approached her in the stone corridor. You've grown careless, he said. Cerelia turned slowly. I've grown curious about the truth. Threxen stepped closer. The truth is simple. Humans are wild, short-lived, emotional. They don't belong with us. And he that commander is not worthy of your attention. You speak as if you own me, she said sharply. I am your future bondmate, Threxen replied. I will not be shamed. The gift later that night, under the soft light of the moons, Cerelia stood alone in her chambers. Her thoughts were a storm. The council's decree felt like a prison. She had been taught to lead with logic, not emotion. But now her heart refused to stay silent. She reached into her bookshelf and pulled out a small human book, Poems from Earth. Aiden had given it to her before he left the palace. She had read it every night since. She turned to her favorite passage. Love is not a cage, but a wild wind that lifts us beyond law and blood. Tears touched her eyes. She had never cried before. Valanthi were not designed for such things, but she was changing. She wrapped the book in royal cloth and gave it to a servant. Deliver this to Commander Aiden Cross, she said. No one. A message between stars. Aiden opened the package in his quarters. When he saw the book, he froze. The royal cloth. The handwriting. It was from her. Inside the book, a small note was hidden. They fear what they don't understand. I want to understand. If you still believe in love, meet me where the moons kiss the sea. Cerelia? Aiden read the note 5 times. He knew what this meant. If he went, it would break protocol. Earth Command would call it dangerous. But something inside him burned too brightly to ignore. I'm going, he said. His second-in-command, L.T. Barrett, raised an eyebrow. You know this could cost you your rank, Aiden smiled. Then I'll go as a man, not a commander. Moonlight meeting the secret cove was hidden under a cliff of glowing rock. The waves below shimmered violet and blue. The two moons hung low in the sky, touching at the edge like lovers in a quiet embrace. Aiden waited, heart pounding. Then she appeared. Sorelia walked toward him, her gown flowing like stardust. She looked nervous, almost fragile, but her eyes were strong. I didn't know if you'd come, she said softly. I didn't know if I should, he replied, but I couldn't stay away. They sat by the water, speaking in whispers. No guards, no politics. Just two souls learning about each other. Sorelia told him about her childhood, how her feelings were always hidden, how emotions were seen as weakness. Aiden told her about Earth, his sister, the wars, the losses, and how he promised himself that space would be different, that humanity would reach for peace, not power. Then she asked, Did you mean it? What you whispered? He nodded. Every word. She looked at the sky, then back at him. Then I'll say what I've never said before. I feel something I can't name. But when I'm with you, I feel alive. A forbidden kiss, their hands touched. Slowly, carefully, and then, under the light of the twin moons, they kissed. It was soft, scared, and perfect. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not species, not laws, not consequences, only them. But from the shadows of the cliff, someone was watching. Betrayal General Threxen stood in his command chamber watching a hollow recording of the kiss. His jaw tightened. They've crossed the line, he said, behind him. The High Matron stood silent. She is your daughter, Threxen said almost accusingly. She is also a future ruler, Calexia replied. Rulers do not fall in love with humans. Threxen bowed. Then give me permission. I will deal with him. Quietly, Calexia hesitated. No war. Not yet, understood, Threxen said. But his mind was already planning, divided loyalties the next day. Earth's ambassador received an urgent message from Volanthus. It was clear and harsh. Your commander is being watched. He has violated contact laws. Future diplomacy is at risk. The ambassador called Aiden into a meeting. You're becoming a problem, Aiden, the ambassador said. The Volanthi want you off their planet. I didn't do anything wrong, Aiden said. You've got too close. That's wrong enough in their eyes. Earth can't risk a diplomatic failure, so I have to choose love or duty. Yes, the ambassador said quietly. That's exactly it. A whisper in the dark back on Volanthus, Sorelia stood on her balcony. Clutching a necklace, Aiden had given her an old earth charm with the shape of a heart. She whispered to the wind, hoping he could somehow hear, I choose you. But the wind gave no answer, and far across the sky, the shadow of war slowly began to rise. The city of Volanthus was never quiet, but lately the air felt heavier, like something was about to break. People whispered in the streets and markets. In every hall and corridor of the glowing towers, Commander Aiden Cross stood at the ship's observation window, watching the alien city shimmer beneath the twin moons. His heart ached, torn between two worlds. On one hand, the cold rules of Volanthi law said he must leave. On the other, his heart called him to stay for Princess Sorelia. For a chance to change everything, the flames of change the palace courtyard was packed. Volanthi youths gathered in secret, holding small glowing lights in their hands. They chanted softly, heart over steel, heart over steel. They had no weapons, only hope. Sorelia stood on the steps of the palace, her voice steady but full. A fire, the High Council tells us to obey cold law. But what is a law without heart? We are more than logic and control. We are alive. Her words were met with cheers and some angry shouts. General Threxen appeared at the palace gates, flanked by soldiers. This rebellion will end, he declared, his voice loud and cruel. No love will overthrow the blood of Volanthus. Order must return. Aiden's choice inside the Endeavor. Aiden prepared to leave. Earth's ambassador had sent final orders. Leave orbit within 48 hours. But Aiden couldn't. He had seen the spark of hope in Sorelia's eyes. He had felt it in his own chest. He went to the landing bay and found Sorelia waiting. "I'm not going," he said quietly. She smiled, relief shining on her face. "Then we must fight," she said. Together. The secret bond Sorelia led Aiden to a hidden chamber beneath the palace. Their old Velanthi technology hummed with power. Ancient crystals, glowing with blue light, pulsed softly. "This is the healing forge," Sorelia explained. "It can link to souls a sacred rite. Long lost to our people," Aiden looked at her unsure. "It is dangerous," she warned, "but it will protect us." They stepped into the circle of light. The forge glowed brighter. Energy flowed through them, binding their DNA in a way that Velanthe believed created a sacred bond of hearts. When it ended, Aiden felt stronger, and Sorelia's eyes glowed with new life. But word of their bond spread fast. The rising storm, the High Council was furious. They declared the bond an act of emotional corruption, a crime punishable by exile or death. In the streets, loyalists to the old ways began attacking the rebel youths. Fires broke out. The city that had once welcomed the endeavor grew dark with fear. Aiden stood beside Sorelia as they watched the city burn. "We cannot let them win," she said. "Not now, not ever." Aiden clenched his fists. "We're not just fighting for us. We're fighting for all who believe in freedom. Freedom to love, to choose, to live." The rebellion begins. Rebel groups grew stronger, humans and Velanthe. United, sharing knowledge and strength, Aiden trained the rebels in tactics he had learned in Earth's conflicts. But always stressed defense and protecting civilians, Sorelia spoke to the crowds, inspiring hope. "Let our hearts lead. Let our courage show the way." Threxen responded with brutal crackdowns. But the more he tried to control, the more the people resisted. A secret attack one night. While Aiden and Sorelia met in their chamber, alarms blared throughout the palace. Rebel scouts reported a surprise attack by Threxen's forces. "We must leave," Sorelia shouted. "They want to capture us." Aiden grabbed her hand, not without a fight. Together, they raced through the halls, dodging blasts of plasma fire. The palace guards were split, some loyal to Threxen, others hesitant, unsure where their true loyalty lay. They reached a secret exit that led to the city's underground tunnels. The underground sanctuary in the tunnels. Rebels and refugees gathered a hidden sanctuary beneath the city. Sorelia addressed the crowd. "We may be hunted, but we are not broken. This rebellion is for all who dream of a better future." Aiden stood beside her. "We may be different human in Valanthia, but together we are stronger than any law or weapon." The crowd cheered. A moment of doubt later, alone in the sanctuary, Aiden and Sorelia sat together. "This rebellion could cost us everything," Aiden said quietly. Sorelia looked at him, her eyes filled with fierce hope. "If we don't fight, we lose who we are." He nodded. "I whispered once that I wished I could marry you." "I meant it," she smiled softly, and I said, "My answer is yes." Price of hope, but their happiness was fragile. High above, in the royal tower, Threxen prepared his final strike. "We will end this rebellion," he vowed. "No human, no rebel will stand in the way of Velanthi honor." The city held its breath. The morning sun of Valanthis rose slowly, casting a soft violet glow over the crystal towers. But inside the great hall of the royal palace, the air was thick with tension and fear. Commander Aiden Cross and Princess Sorelia stood before the High Council. Their fate and the fate of the rebellion would be decided today. The room was filled with nobles wearing glowing tattoos and serious expressions. The High Matron Calexia sat at the head of the chamber, her eyes sharp and cold. The accusations the chief counselor spoke first, his voice loud and clear. "Commander Aiden Cross, you stand accused of violating Velanthi laws by forming a sacred bond with Princess Sorelia. You have broken the bloodline, endangered our people, and led a rebellion against the crown." Aiden stepped forward, calm but firm. "I stand here not as an enemy, but as a man who believes in love, freedom, and peace. I did not break laws. I challenged a system that fears change." A murmur ran through the crowd. Some nobles whispered angrily, Others looked uncertain. Sorelia took a deep breath and spoke. I am the princess of Volanthus. I have chosen my own path, not one written by old fear or control. I refuse to live a life without heart. The trial begins. The high matron raised her hand, silencing the chamber. Very well. We shall conduct a trial to decide your fate. Aidan and Sorelia exchanged a glance, knowing this trial could end everything. The court summoned witnesses, spoke of Aidan's kindness and bravery. Others accused him of bringing chaos. Sorelia's allies spoke too, telling stories of her courage and hope for the future. But General Threxon's voice thundered. He has corrupted our princess. He is a danger to Volanthus and must be removed. Aidan's defense when it was Aidan's turn. He looked directly at the High Council. I come from a world where love is the strongest force. It brings people together, it teaches forgiveness and hope. He paused, then said, if love is a crime, then I am guilty. But I will not apologize for wanting a better future. Words stirred the crowd. Some nodded, others frowned. Sorelia's declaration Sirius stood tall. I declare my freedom to choose. I will not marry because of duty or law. I will marry because of love. She looked at Aidan and then the council. My heart has chosen. It has chosen a human. The chamber fell silent. A shock vote. The high matron spoke again. The council must decide. Votes were cast by raising hands, glowing with light. The tension was unbearable. The final count was close. But the majority voted against them. Commander. Cross, Princess Sorelia, the matron said coldly. You are sentenced to exile from the royal city. You will leave Volanthus within 7 days. A secret plan that night, Aidan and Sorelia met in the underground sanctuary. They knew exile was only the beginning. They would not give up, Sorelia whispered. There is a place beyond the stars, a colony of free people. They will welcome us. Aidan nodded. Then we leave at dawn, together. Their rebel friends prepared the ship. It was old but fast. The escape at dawn, the palace was quiet. Most nobles believed the rebellion was over. But Aidan and Sorelia slipped through hidden tunnels and secret doors. They reached the landing bay, where their ship waited. Just as they prepared to board, alarm sounded. Threxon's soldiers had discovered them. The final fight. Aidan drew his weapon. Get to the ship, he shouted. Sorelia stood beside him, holding a glowing Volanthi blade. The soldiers rushed forward. Aidan and Sorelia fought fiercely, their moves perfectly timed. The rebels outside joined the battle, pushing back the soldiers, to take off with the soldiers behind them. Aidan and Sorelia boarded the ship. The engines roared to life as they lifted off. Sorelia looked back at the palace one last time. I am leaving home, she said softly, but not alone. A new beginning. The ship flew into the stars, leaving Volanthus behind. Aidan held Sorelia's hand. We will build a new future, he said. Sorelia smiled. A future where love guides us. The stars stretched endlessly around them as the small ship raced through space. Inside, everything was quiet except for the sound of two hearts beating side by side. Commander Aidan Cross sat beside Princess Sorelia in the cockpit, looking out into the unknown. For the first time in weeks, they were not running. They were free. But freedom came with questions. Where will we go now? Aidan asked softly. Sorelia turned to him, her eyes glowing gently in the ship's dim light. There's a place I've only heard about. Neutral colony beyond Volanthi territory where humans and aliens live together. It's called Aurora's Reach. He smiled. Sounds like a place for people like us. Aurora's Reach after 4 days of quiet flight, the ship finally arrived at the edge of the Aurora system. Aidan stared in awe. The colony floated above a gas giant, surrounded by rings of glowing ice. Hundreds of ships, large and small, moved like fireflies around a city made of glass and steel. This place. It's beautiful, he whispered. Sorelia nodded. It's where outsiders go when they want to build something new. As they landed, the docking officer scanned their ship and paused when he saw Sorelia's royal ID. You're Volanthi royalty, he said, surprised. I was, Sorelia replied calmly. Now I'm just someone looking for peace. The officer smiled. Then you're welcome here. A new life begins. Aurora's Reach was unlike anything they had seen. People from 100 planets lived side by side. Markets buzzed with languages from across the galaxy. Drones floated overhead, keeping peace. Children, alien and human, played in the sky gardens. Aiden and Sorelia found a small home in the upper levels.
Away from the noise.
It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. Every morning they walked through the colony hand in hand. There were no royal guards, high council, no one to tell them their love was wrong. Still, some nights Aiden stared out the window, thinking of Earth, of his crew, and of the past. You miss it, don't you? Sorelia asked once, sitting beside him. I miss the idea of it, he said, but not the rules that tried to keep us apart. She leaned on his shoulder. Then let's make something better here. The wedding without a throne. 2 weeks later, under the glowing trees of the Aurora Gardens, Aiden and Sorelia stood before a small group of friends. There was no crown, no throne, no grand ceremony, only a quiet promise. A local elder from Aurora, wearing robes stitched with stars, spoke the words. Do you promise to walk together through the storms and the stars? I do, Aiden said, smiling. I do, Sorelia said, her eyes full of tears. The crowd clapped softly. Aiden placed a simple silver band on her hand. Sorelia gave him a pendant made from Valanthe crystal. They kissed under the twin moons of Aurora's Reach. They were no longer commander and princess. They were husband and wife. Peace doesn't last forever. Months passed peacefully. Aiden took work as a pilot, helping transport supplies between colonies. Sorelia taught children about diplomacy and peace. They built a small garden on their balcony. Laughter returned to their lives, but in the distant shadows of space, a storm was growing. Back on Valanthus, General Threxen had taken full control. After the royal family lost its power, Threxen declared himself the protector of the realm. His first mission, track down the rebels, especially Sorelia and Aiden. One morning, while Aiden was repairing a solar panel, a message arrived. Unidentified Valorian ship approaching Aurora's Reach, requesting landing permission. Denied. Ship ignoring colony signals. Aiden froze. They found us. The final desistant Sorelia met him at the landing pad. She was already dressed in her old Valanthe armor, polished and ready. We knew this day might come, she said. Aiden nodded. We could run again. No, she said, holding his hand tightly. This time, we protect the peace we found. We fight for this home. Together, they met with the Aurora Defense Council. Though the colony was neutral, they agreed to defend its people. Aiden joined the pilots. Sorelia returned to the negotiation chambers, asking for help from nearby colonies. We don't need war, she told the council. We just need to show. Then we won't be controlled again. The battle over Aurora 3 days later, Threxen's warship arrived in orbit. It was large, black, and armed with advanced plasma cannons. He sent one message: surrender the traitor princess and her human, or face judgment. Aurora sent its answer, no, and the battle began. Ships rose from the colony, facing Threxen's forces in the sky. Aiden led the main squad, weaving through enemy fire. Inside the colony, Sorelia helped evacuate civilians. Her old skills returned, but now she fought for something real, not a crown, but a home. Aiden versus Threxen. During the battle, Aiden's ship was hit. Smoke filled the cockpit, alarms blaring. He crash-landed on the Valanthe warship's hangar. Crawling out of the wreckage, weapon in hand. And there stood Threxen. Waiting. I warned you, human, Threxen growled. You poisoned her? No, Aiden said, raising his weapon. She saved me. The fight was brutal. Threxen was faster, stronger, but Aiden was determined. Blow after blow, he fought with everything he had. Memories, love, pain, at last. With one final strike, Aiden disabled Threxen and held his weapon at the general's chest. But he didn't fire. We're not your enemies, he said. We're just people who chose love. Turned and walked away, leaving Threxen on the floor. The aftermath with Threxin defeated, his soldiers surrendered. The Velanthi warship retreated. People of Aurora cheered. Peace had returned. Back. On the colony, Aiden was greeted with hugs and tears. Sorelia ran to him, throwing her arms around his neck. "You came back," she whispered. "Always," he replied. Love beyond worlds, eh? Year later, Aiden and Sorelia stood on a hill above Aurora. Watching the sunrise, children played below. A garden bloomed beside them. Their story had spread across planets. Humans and Velanthe began speaking again, not as enemies, but as friends. Aiden turned to his wife. "Do you ever regret choosing this path?" Sorelia shook her head. "I once lived by rules. Now I live by love." He smiled. "I whispered once that I wished I could marry you." She laughed softly, and I said yes. They kissed as the stars blinked gently above them. Their journey had been full of pain, but it ended with hope, a promise kept, a love that changed to worlds forever.